And now on to the item 11, which is the consideration of other future directors. We know that we do have in our bylaws space for 2 more members of the board. And between 9 and 11, with the appointment of Charlie, we're up to 9. The nominating committee has contacted other board candidates who have indicated a willingness to serve. Missing, however, has been consideration of the criteria for directors, although Article 5, Section 2 of the bylaws directs the nominating committee as follows. The nominating committee shall develop criteria for board service and shall assemble a slate of board of candidates from among those members deemed to be most qualified for service. As your interim president, I suggest we take a breather before adding further members to the board at this time. Just please ask, the first step would be consideration of the criteria for the service. And so I'm asking you to ponder the draft of possible criteria that you find in the section or document E, the supporting document E. It recognizes that additionally the nominating committee from time to time may seek specific subsets, skill sets, needed as a financial, public relations, or business experience. So if you look at your supporting document E, that will show you that we aim to begin to establish general criteria for board service. And so accordingly, everybody must do some homework. No motion is reported at this time, and the board is simply asked to consider a criteria to discuss the qualifications for the board that would be most advantageous in furthering NACRA's mission.
Yeah, the background here is when Milt Birdsall of Florida chaired the nominating committee, he started by getting the criteria of the skill sets needed that would bring the strength and professionalism to the board that was desired. He was succeeded. There have been 2 nominating committees since then, or 2 chair people, and the criteria aspect of it was lost and began to become just, we'll suggest people who are willing to be directors, and then the board will vote on the ones who they choose. And so the board selection should be based on qualification and merit more than just popularity or the fickleness of choice. So the idea is to try to narrow it down, starting with thinking about what general criteria are of the qualities that you would expect in a board member in general, and then narrowing it down to where, when we need financial expertise or legal expertise or specific expertise, that would the nominating committee would then look in the state organizations for people who could meet those specific needs.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And when Pete Straub couldn't take it on this last time, I took it on in his place. And I was very much criticized for not having a set of criteria, and I accept that. The issue was that we had 30 days to come up with a set of names. And
crisis management.
And I made the decision that getting some names was more important at that point with that short deadline. So I will accept any criticism.
I don't think it's criticism. I think everybody would agree. First, NACRA came through a bit of a challenge, a crisis. And we know what the issue was. There was an issue that got resolved. The question is, do we want NACRA to be Big Tent, or do we want NACRA to be a defensive fortress?
I certainly agree. It's time to take it easy.
And then we've opened it up to get directors who were consistent. So, people like Jack Snyder and the new directors, these are highly qualified people, comes with a long record. And I think you deserve a lot of credit for having lined up this highly select group of candidates.
Let me tell you my experience. When I was the president of VACRA, Virginia Continuing Care Residents Association, I came to Denver, I came to Chicago, I came to Nashville, I came to Dallas, but I was never a member of the board when I was the president of VACRA. And I wondered why I wasn't included in board meetings. It was really strange, I thought. I'm the president of the Virginia Association, and I'm not on the board. The board's meeting without me all the time. I go to all these meetings, and I'm not included. I really feel strongly that we have 11 states that have presidents. And I think that every state that's a member should have somebody on the board to speak for their state at every meeting. You know how I became a member of the board? There was a little squib in Lifeline saying, if you're interested in being on the board, contact whoever it was. So I sent an email, listing my qualifications. But this is after somebody else became president of VACRA.
And so this is why we're going to take the time to consider how to approach selecting the next two members of the board to fill it to the right spot.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'd like to make a comment on that.
Never meant to do that, but that's, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I may be wrong, and some of the real old timers like Charlie can
Watch
correct me.
that.
But my understanding was when that was started, the state presidents were the board.
That's right.
Is that correct? And later it was decided that if we end up with 50 state presidents, the board is going to be untenably large. And I tend to agree with that. Right now, I don't think that's so, but I would like to suggest that over the next few months, maybe we could take this up again in April, that we think about a role for the state presidents, an advisory committee or something.
We have quite a role for them, they choose the board.
Yeah.
That's true, but I think that this meeting we had this morning
Very
was a very, very good meeting.
We need that.
And I think a continuation of that in an advisory manner would be very beneficial. I think there are a lot of things that we can do. Let's say our resident rights, our model laws, the facts that we're going to the FASB, all those things I can look at as NACRA having finally established some standards. Remember a couple of years ago I said we need to have standards, and those are standards. They are living documents that will change from time to time, but they are standards. And I think we ought to give the states an opportunity to review those before they get final approval from the board. Things like that are things that we can do with the states that would be very beneficial.
I don't think that goes far enough.
Well, that's why we're going to ask this, the group to consider facets. Yes, Bennett.
Madam Chair, you have a bylaws committee that's in process of having these discussions. The only thing I would stress to you, Ms. Hurley, I think clearly the states have a role, and they have an integral role in what happens with NACRA now and going forward. What I will share with you from Florida's perspective, which is different than Virginia, quite frankly, the president of Florida, meaning the sitting president of Florida, has not really wanted to serve on NACRA at the same time that they're serving as president of FLICRA. Because, if you can imagine the FLICRA model, where you got 13,000 members and we have 56 chapters of FLICRA around the state, the president and we have regional directors are all traveling to those various CCRCs wearing their FLICRA hats. So for them to say, well, I'll commit to 2 more meetings in person and then teleconferences at the same time they're trying to serve their state function, they really don't want to do it at the same time. It's not that they don't care about NACRA, they just want to do right by the job that they have and then serve NACRA before or after that. So I don't think you should create a mandate that every state would have to take that. But I do agree, and I think everybody agrees, that the states have to be intricately involved in all the strategic decisions of NAPR, no question about that.
And we do have somebody from Florida here today,
We have Charlie Falk here.
Charlie's here.
so, you know,
And then it's here.
that's what's important, is that they're here for meetings. They don't have to be the president.
Understood.
The
Okay.
president.
But the issue is that are now going to consider these facets. And remember also, we are retired, so we do have a life besides, and you cannot, and I contest to the fact that you cannot do all things, do all for all people, and stay even.
Okay,
So
I always
I know
say-
these are things that we're going to ask the board to consider in the next several months, and we'll give a progress report back in April or March, when we're at the big conference, and we'll see where we go from there.
And I would just say, Gene, no one ever meant to slight you.
Absolutely not.
1 minute thing before we adjourn.
All right, and 1 minute, just fine gentleman asks one question, or one thought.
One thought. First of all, I want us to remember that in the last 10 days, Walt Boyer's wife has died,
Yes.
and we want to extend our
Yes,
deep
absolutely.
sympathy to him. And everyone in this room needs to know that not only have we sustained the resignation of 4 directors out of 9, and the turmoil that that has caused, but in the last 3 quarters, 3 directors have had the experience of their wife dying. First quarter was my wife, Betty. The second quarter was Pete Straub's wife, and the third quarter was Walt Boyer's wife. So everybody has not only had a heavier load NAPR-wise, but a heavier load grief-wise.
Yes.
And the fact that we are here today and alive and functioning is a miracle.
It is.
Amen to that. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a 5-minute break to allow you to go potty and get water. Yes, Paul?
Can I say a quick word after what you just said about being retired?
Yes.
You have to emphasize it differently. You retire. You put new tires on and run.
5 minutes.